universal services, families that are struggling, families in need, families suffering from abuse become invisible. People don't see them. They are not in their communities. Oxfordshire County Council might be happy to just help people once they get into crisis. I say that is immoral. That is wrong. We need to help people before they reach crisis point.
No cuts! No cuts! No cuts!
Stop the cuts! It's enough! Stop the cuts! Stop the cuts! Stop the cuts!
You know what a lot of people say about everyone's only 2 paychecks away from becoming homeless? It's very similar with family crisis. If you take all of these things away from people and leave them no place to go, they will hit crisis point.
With exclusive access to Oxfordshire.
This is BBC Radio Oxford.
What's coming up next month is so horrific. I mean, another 40% cut to local authorities. Tory authorities are absolutely appalled by it.
The pain has effectively been outsourced to local councils. Their budgets have been absolutely shredded. We're talking about 50%.
One of the biggest campaigns has been against the closure of the children's centres in Oxfordshire. There are 44 currently. Under the new plans, all will close. A final decision on the budget will be made at a full council meeting.
Basically, we're fighting the Oxfordshire County Council's proposals to close all 44 children's centres in the county. The biggest problem with our campaign is that a lot of people aren't really aware of what children's centres do. So, I mean, they do lots and lots of universal services that are available to everyone, like baby groups, health visitor drop-ins, stay and play sessions. They also do some great things around referring people for postnatal depression and other types of depression. And they also run courses to help people escape from domestic abuse in their homes.
There was no awareness of what was going on, and certainly not in our little village where, you know, everything's happy and all got white picket fences and things like that. You know, it's very much everything's okay here. I was constantly ridiculed for what I was doing, constantly put down. I was not good enough, I was pathetic, I was ugly, I was stupid. He pushed me and I fell in the bathroom and cut my head open, and I drove to the hospital with blood pouring down my face, and all the time we were there he was telling me, you did it to yourself, you did it to yourself, you did it to yourself. So you start believing that actually you did do it to yourself when you know you actually didn't. You've got so little worth, so little strength. How the heck are you supposed to start a whole new life? I was told about the children's centre and literally went over and burst into tears and was given a cup of tea. You're not on your own, you're not making it up. And it's just that sisterhood, that solidarity. And without the children's centre or the backup of the early intervention hub going, no, Jo, you're a great mum, you can do it. Things would have, been very, very different. And I probably would have gone back.
Oxfordshire is where you can afford to live if you're from the English elite, where the new overseas elite haven't yet worked out to be. It's God's own country for Tories. You know, it's a bit like Yorkshire for the Labour Party. This is where you want your plum seat. You'd have to go back to 1913 to find it not being Tory. Across the whole county, social services are being cut, services to children are being cut, and the visits to the elderly. The budgets for schools are being cut. They haven't yet cut collecting the rubbish, but they are cutting the children's centres and the community centres. So there's a growing gulf within the city and within the county between people who are struggling and people who used to rely on public services, on the local buses, which of course are also being cut, compared to the people who never think about getting on a bus. And of course you're seeing rising food banks and people going to the church hall to go and get some tins of food that they don't really want to eat because that isn't the food that they would have chosen, but who are they to choose? A lot of this happens quietly and in secret. A lot of it is done in shame.
You nearly walk into Goulding.
So we've been out today signing people up. We're asking people to pledge that they won't vote for any councillor who votes for cuts to children's centres. Although it's the county council making the cuts, those cuts have been handed down directly from government. So ultimately it's David Cameron who holds the responsibility for this. So we thought that we should start that off where the real responsibility lies, and it's here in his constituency.
Can I talk to you about your local children's centres closing down? No worries. Enjoy your day anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Can I talk to you, sir, at all?
I'm afraid the new Labour administration didn't exactly. I mean, they did a lot of good, but they also got involved in stupid wars, and they still managed to try and privatise after.
Although they gave us children's centres in the first place.
Yeah,
I'll thank them for that, but yeah.
And also, when the coalition government started kicking off about how it's all your fault, there's no money, they didn't fight back.
No.
This is a very strange place to suddenly arrive to when you're 18 years old. You probably had quite a good time, or if you didn't have a good time, you convince yourself later that you had a good time. And then when people talk about changing it, changing the groups who might come in, or changing things around the town, or building on the edge of Oxford, they're talking about changing your childhood. They're talking about changing something that was quite dear to you, that was one of the biggest achievements in your life. And so this place is particularly precious to a group of people in Britain who have an extraordinary amount of power. The top of the civil service, the top of the BBC, the top of government, the top of the judiciary, the top of the press. This is where they all lost their virginity.
Fist full of pledge cards, pocket full of pens and a dodgy mobile phone. You're good to go.
As a nanny, children's centres are everything for us. It's like one of the highlights of our week, so without it we would be maybe stuck indoors or just really struggling to find things to do. Well, I can't begin to describe how that would affect us, really. Keep them open.
Brilliant, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
That was great. I'm really pleased.
And no traffic, which means the sound quality.
I know, and they were.
I'm really worried about.
They were really willing and really on it. I love it.
I know.
Well, we'll see. I know. He's gone to give the pens back.
She's just so passionate and powerful, and I've learnt a lot from her, and she is so strong. I don't know how she does it. She's got 2 little children. But I think both of us have really struggled with wanting to be invisible and now celebrating our power and being able to be visible. So between us, we kind of often play bad cop, good cop. But the council haven't taken very kindly to her. She is referred to as that woman, which we find quite amusing because it means she's got under their skin.
Talking all this morning about cuts being made to frontline services in Oxfordshire as the County Council looks to make £70 million worth of savings over the next 4 years. Where is the axe going to fall? It's going to fall right across the board by the looks of it. Plans to axe bus subsidies, shut most of our children's centres, cut back on homelessness support. The list goes on and on.
I have never seen anything like this since 1981. Through the years of Thatcher we thought things were dreadful. This is worse. This is far worse.
From June of this year, all subsidised bus services in Oxfordshire will cease to exist overnight. They will all go.
We know that if we all have to close, you're going to see somewhere in the region of 300 to 600 more people potentially sleeping rough on the streets of Oxford, under bushes, in allotments around the county, down the riverbanks, in tents, in shop doorways. Just walking around, you will see that happening.
mean, Tuesday will be the cabinet meeting, which starts at 2 o'clock. Either they allow everybody in, and that means the meeting goes on forever, and that's difficult for them, and they have to hear the heart-rending stories that we're all going to tell about what these cuts are going to do. So, you know, they're human beings, you know, they listen to these things.
My worry is at the moment, obviously, I've got to come from Banbury, and at the moment, I don't even have childcare lined up, so I will definitely be there.
They're trying to force through a decision about the cuts and children's centres. Our job is to try and frustrate that process.
You know, to give the county council some due, they don't want to be a truly awful county council. They do not want to make the next set of cuts that mean that there are almost no children's centres. They don't want to do this, and their problem is they can't explain to the Prime Minister of their own party that what his Chancellor is doing to them requires them to make the cuts that even a true blue Conservative area doesn't want to make. So it is a very bizarre time to be in.
In every other county council where these cuts are being proposed to Tory and Labour county councils, the local MPs are fighting for their people, but not in Oxfordshire. In Oxfordshire, every Conservative MP is backing these cuts. It's a disgrace.
I know for certain that when I suffered from domestic abuse, my abuser would not have let me attend this referral-only, stigmatised service that they are offering. He would not have let me attend, and I would have not received the help from children's centres to escape that abuse. Stop the cuts! Enough is enough! Stop the cuts! Enough is enough!
If you get involved in just campaigning for one party nationally, you can't necessarily see the difference you're making. If you get involved in something locally, you can see the difference that you're making. But for me, even if it was completely fruitless, I would still shout for children's centres until the last day because they saved me. Before children's centres, it was 8.5 years of domestic abuse, of being beaten on an almost daily basis.
What I refuse to accept is how this will change the lives of family and children and young people forever, and the system will have failed them.
Looking at this budget, if you had 1 ounce of humanity, you would never put your hands in the air to support it. You would never support this inhumane, immoral budget. I ask you now to put your hands on the table and say, I will not vote for this, and I will resign my position.
All councillors have a legal requirement to set a balanced budget with no borrowing, so it is a very big challenge for us all. I'd just like to say thank you to all speakers today. You've all spoken very eloquently, and I can assure you we are taking on board all your comments. Councillor
Are you going to resign then?
Thank you. No one can be happy with what you're trying to deliver today. We'll go forward to full council. Nobody wants the budget to exist. It's challenging.
Why don't you resign then? Resign.
The notion of resignation has passed various views.
It might help you sleep at night.
Everybody's had their opportunity to speak. Thank you very much. If you could just allow the members of the Cabinet to deliberate, please. Thank you.
What would happen is that a Mandarin from Westminster would come down, set a budget that you would have no say whatsoever, you would have no local input, and it would be imposed on you. You can argue whether it's better to be still in the ring fighting or to walk away. Many of us don't like what we have to do. It's easier to stay and fight. Just walk away and say let's have somebody else.
I can go to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendation? Recommendation is carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. If we could now move to agenda item 7. While everybody's arranging, I think we'll just have 5 minutes and we'll adjourn.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it's on Greek.